Hey guys, welcome into cancelthisshow.com. March 6th. Happy start of the week. We love Mondays around here. Don't we, Scotty?
Yeah. I wouldn't ask Scotty that today. He looks a little prickly this morning.
Baby. No, he looks rested, refreshed.
I'm fine.
All right, we got Scotty on the boards. Our social media. What are we going to call you? Our social media. We got to come up with something. You're our social media coordinator. You're like our social media aficionado.
The person with the fast fingers.
Our social media spark. Lizzie Sparks. In studio. Tabitha Hassel. I'm Vic Faust. Eric Johnson on his way in this morning. Glad everybody's here. Hope everybody had a terrific weekend. Of course, this is cancelthisshow.com. Once again, cancelthisshow.com. We're live and we're recorded. We're live, and then as soon as we finish live, of course, I had this question over the weekend. Hopefully people know, and of course, we have new people coming all the time. Hey, do you guys stream? Yes, we stream. Not only are we live Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Central, but as soon as the show ends on those video platforms that we're on, go to cancelthisshow.com to check out all of the platforms. You've got it, Facebook, YouTube, Clout Hub, Rumble, you name it, LinkedIn, Twitter. So the show saves there. But then we also edit, and it goes to all of your audio podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and iHeart. So we're all over the place. Yes, we stream, and let people know. I was at some high school events over the weekend, and Lizzie said she was in the Illinois side a few weeks ago, and people were like, oh yeah, I know, cancel this. Same thing happened to me out at some high school events over the weekend. So we're grateful you're jumping in. Once again, share the show, like, subscribe. I don't know, Tabitha and Lizzie are the star people. People sending stars.
Send the stars.
Yes, thank you for everybody that's doing that too.
Yeah, and somebody even asked me over the weekend, they're like, what's the deal with the stars? Because, on our old show together.
You sure that
The
wasn't
Edge,
me? I was like, what's going on with stars?
Stars are very confusing. And there was a point in time we were on the Edge. I'm like, don't send stars because you're just feeding money to the overlords at FB. But I have recently learned that that's not the case, that the star money actually comes to us. And when you see the send the stars, I actually see the money coming to us.
Okay, cool.
So that's just another way to support the show. And it does come directly to us.
We're St. Louis based, but we're a national show, national topics. We also have local topics. Massive St. Louis story over the weekend. We talk about the negative of St. Louis, and there's plenty of it. By the way, I heard over the weekend that a local county prosecutor, one that's not in St. Charles, thinks that old KG needs to step down.
I heard the same rumor.
So with that being said, when Kim Gardner loses the support of this county prosecutor, there's some issues, unfortunately. So that came up over the weekend. But for St. Louis, I'm telling you right now, St. Louis is a baseball town. It is a hockey town. It was a football town in the NFL till Stan Kroenke wrecked it. But we also proved to the country that St. Louis is a soccer town. Sold out, amazing atmosphere. Saturday night, downtown, sold out stadium. The MLS commissioner talked about how St. Louis had the most amazing start that he's seen. It's the best atmosphere in America. And for the most part, crime-free. Now,
yes.
Crime-free.
This week, anyway.
No bullets at the side of the building. Nothing from that standpoint. No jackets needed to protect you from flying bullets. But it was an amazing, amazing weekend for St. Louis. And then coming up this next weekend, Cacaw, the Battlehawks, have their first home game next weekend. And they're talking about selling out the upper deck now, which is just amazing. Yes, St. Louis is a sports town. So I was happy to hear it.
Now, when are they going to relocate out to the county so they can avoid all of the crime?
And there's the thunderstorm on this day of sunshine.
Because the city is going
Tabitha
down.
Thunderstorm Hassel.
Down. Oh, Lizzie, we can't hear you.
I don't hear I don't hear Lizzie, but we'll get her taken care of. She's up.
Am I on now? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm on
I'm
now.
muted because this thing's blowing out here. Sorry.
Well, and the crime is coming out to St. Charles County too. So I really don't think I want all that out here, because if you bring the stadium, now granted the sports are great and we love having them, but if they come out to St. Charles County, there's going to be more than a parking lot grocery store shooting. That's what I think.
Well,
and you're probably right, but I talked to a business owner over the weekend. I'm not going to, I didn't ask him if I could give permission to talk about it. So I'm not going to go into great details. But somebody contacted me over the weekend saying, hey, I desperately need security at my business, which is in the Central West End. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do because we have these teenagers who are armed with guns in my establishment fighting every single day. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I've been in this business for X number of years, I think 50 years. And all of a sudden, I'm probably going to have to close because there's not enough St. Louis police officers to patrol the area. I can't hire off-duty St. Louis officers because A, they're extremely expensive and they're usually not available, to hire for a secondary. And he's like, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do because he goes, I know I'm going to lose my business over this. So I called an FBI friend of mine who's on one of those multi-agency task force here in the area. And I asked him what he thought. He goes, you know what? It's not a matter of if a shooting takes place in his establishment. And this is not a bar. I don't even think they serve alcohol. He's like, it's a matter of when. He said, it will happen.
Well, it can happen anywhere. While
not like in the city.
Now, while we were finished up and we didn't have a lot of city talk today, thankfully, but St. Louis Business Journal came out with a poll over the weekend. They polled St. Louis area residents, pretty down the middle organization. 67% of respondents said, guess what the number one issue is?
Crime.
It's crime. Safety, crime, taking care of business. But my point to that is, if it is the number one issue, and there's 67% of you, and if you're not voting, you need to vote. Get out and vote. That's the whole deal. So good weekend for the St. Louis area. I don't know where you're listening in today, but if it's in another city, if it's in another part of the country, I pray to God crime is somehow, some way getting better, but we see stories across the country that would say the opposite. Okay, guys, I wanted to start with what I think is a massive, massive story. Here we go again. The world's number one tennis player, Novak Djokovic, the Joker. He wasn't allowed to play in the Australian Open. Then now they made he got an exception. Now the only country that Novak Djokovic can't play tennis in, the number one tennis player in the world, is the United States of America. He has had to pull out of Indian Wells, the tournament they had in Florida, because he can't get a vaccination passport. He wasn't cupcaked. So because he wasn't cupcaked, the United States of America, the last country that will not allow him to play tennis. And you know what the director of the tournament said? The director of the tournament. Now, Joe Biden could have taken care of this. Our country could have done this, and they didn't. They're trying to make it hasn't gone away. And I'm sorry, but when you have the director of the Indian Wells tournament came out over the weekend and said, well, I don't think he's a threat.
Are you serious?
I don't think he's a threat, but we're just taking a look at this. Bill Maher focused a lot of this over the weekend too. And he had it. He's like, America is some sort of stupid. I don't even think it's stupid. It's on purpose.
It is on purpose.
Who is in charge of this?
Well, we are now the most communist country in the world. Can you imagine that? Because we truly are. Between our government, the Biden regime, attempting to sign over our security, literally to the WHO, when it comes to these biological weapons. And we have the Biosecurity Act. We are still, there are still people that cannot enter this country from different regions of the world because of cupcakes.
Not Mexico. You can come right through Mexico.
Exactly,
They're not checking.
That's
They're not
exactly right.
checking.
But you cannot. But here's what's so funny about that, Vic. You can walk over the border in Mexico. No one's checking. If you come over the border, you know how we have thousands of people right now coming across our border down in the Keys, coming from Cuba.
Oh, yeah. You've talked about it.
And Haiti and all of that. They have to be, only do they have to be.
What's Haiti?
Just another country. Well, Haiti.
I've heard of Haiti.
I'm thinking of Haiti, Missouri.
What the? You just said Haiti.
I did. There is a Haiti, Missouri. Sorry. I got my cities mixed up.
Okay. I'm sorry.
The Haitians. So that'll make it easier. I was just in Haiti, Missouri last week.
That's a funny moment.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry.
We need it on a Monday.
Yeah, we do.
But the folks that are coming over across that border, and there are thousands, and there were expected to be thousands more. Guess what's happening to them? They're being turned away. They're being deported. And they do have to be cupcaked and so on. It's ridiculous. Because you know why? Because they're not communists. They will vote against communism. That's why. They're not Democrat voters.
What is it going to take? Seriously. We already know. We've already got health organizations saying your immunity is better than any cupcake. And we're still dealing with this. I mean, Novak Djokovic couldn't even get, you're talking about a guy playing tennis outdoors, away from anybody, even if it was legit, nowhere near anybody. Oh no, we can't let him come into the country and play tennis. So with that being said, he's dropped out.
Good for him.
He's dropped out of Indian Wells. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing.
That hurts us in the end.
And it hurts him. He wants to play.
Sad.
He continues to miss tournaments here because of this BS. 100% BS, total BS. And there's nobody out there that thinks this is a good idea.
Nobody
because
does.
Science has already proven that theory wrong. We're way past this. Or at least I thought.
Well, we think we're way past that, but you go around and there's still people that have masks on. I was in Florida for the volleyball tournament and I could not believe how many masks were in Florida.
I don't mind masks. If somebody thinks it helps them, I don't know how you feel, but I don't care if somebody's wearing a mask. You just can't force others to be masked or cupcaked.
Right.
But we are still being forced, because if you go to a hospital to visit someone, if you're a patient yourself, if you go to a doctor's office, guess what? You still have to wear a mask.
Correct. And if there's more maskers, there isn't, but if there turns out to be more maskers than non-maskers, then we're going to go through this again. And it'll have to be people like us that just refused to wear them. Just refused.
Well, I will never do it again.
I won't.
It'll never happen.
The CDC is still in charge of this. They got to quote to talk about this. They gave a quote when it came to the whole Indian Wells situation. They're still listed as kind of, at least the tournament said, the CDC has confirmed that regulations won't be changing. So Novak won't be able to play in the U.S. Good luck to those playing in these great tournaments. Well, nice job, Joe Biden. Nice job, CDC. Nice job, Health and Human Services Department. This is one of the most ridiculous things when it can't. I mean, we're 2 and then sometimes 3 years removed from the start of this.
Yeah, this is crazy.
And he can't even come into the United States to play. Hey, if you want to get cupcaked, all for you. Go at it. Have fun. Get as many cupcakes as you want, boosters, whatever. Wear your mask all day long. But to now have these virtual signals, and we all know, because it's already been proven. The CDC already said this. They already said that getting cupcaked did not stop the transmission. Here we are again. And if you don't think this isn't political, think again. This is all about Democrats trying to control Republicans. This is all about, we're going to control against freedom. You're not going to get what you want. You're going to do what we say. And I'm sorry. I'm still shocked. Immunity is better than a cupcake, and it's already been
natural
proven.
Immunity.
Science.
Yes.
Right. And that doesn't even talk about, I mean, I know most people don't care if someone else gets a shot, but now I wonder, is the shot, because you're getting COVID, is that shedding on us? I know we've already talked about all that, but it's got to stop.
When it comes to the shedding, I know so little about that. I've talked to so many people about it, and I've never been able to get a conclusive answer as to whether that happens or not. And then the people who say it does happen says you have to have prolonged contact, very close contact. But how is it? But what if you're in a room full of people? I don't know how all that works.
Yeah, I don't either.
But it's scary. But it concerns me also, because have you noticed lately all of the people having aneurysms in the past month? I'm just hearing everybody, it seems like all of a sudden is having an aneurysm. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Vein problems, carotid artery problems.
Yes.
And it really makes me think that there is something even more than just the typical heart problems, like myocarditis and the blood clots. Something is going on. Well,
we continue to get reminded. And the crazy thing and thing that we have to be safe about is just when somebody dies, oh my God, it's got to be because they were cupcaked. Not all the time.
Not all the time. But, something is going on. And just like Kasha on the comment line said, and all of the cancer outbreak, I can't tell you how many people I've heard say, you know what? I was perfectly fine. All of a sudden, I'm diagnosed with stage 4 cancer out of nowhere. When has that ever happened? It's
I don't
such a crazy occurrence.
I agree. I don't remember so many all at one time
All at one time
that are dying. My son, he lives in Santa Monica, and he's getting ready to move back tomorrow. Praise God. I'm so excited to stay because he learned he is not crazy enough to live in California. And,
Right.
and my son, out of 5 kids, did get the cupcake. I didn't want him to, but he did. Now he wishes he hadn't, and he certainly won't get the booster. He said he thinks that all of this stuff has actually made people meaner, not maybe the shot itself, but all this hysteria. That's why people cut you off. That's why everybody's angry. He said, we all now know we've been controlled to do things we shouldn't do. And that's my kid that probably used to be liberal. And then now he's like, I can't be liberal because it's all wrong. And he didn't go right out and say, okay, you were right, Mom, all along. But yet he did, because he's moving back. He will not take the booster. And he even knows, since he and his wife did, he even talked about, he said, I know that if my wife and I want kids, because we both got it, we just have to assume that adoption has to be in our future. And that shocked me. My son just said that this week.
Well,
Yeah, you never know.
I mean, we're talking about this again because Novak Djokovic not being allowed to play in the United States. But let's be real about this. I mean, many of us around the country were forced to take it to get cupcake. It just happens sometimes in your job, in your work environment, against will. Some people happily, some people not. And that's kind of part of it. But at the same point in time, now you're checking yourself. Okay, did this happen? Did that happen? Your son said, people seem to be getting angry. Tabitha's blaming it on zoo animals escaping, going crazy. Yeah, literally over the week, Tabitha's blaming the St. Louis
swamp
Zoo.
monkeys. And they had a bear. They had a bear last week, or was it the week before, that escaped? This week they had 2 swamp monkeys. It's like, I don't even know what a swamp monkey is. But what in the world is going on at the St. Louis Zoo?
Even the zoo's gone
Scotty's
nuts.
like, I have an answer to that. And then he didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Poor thing. That's, you can come in here with us.
Yeah, then how's he going to run the board and be in here?
Who needs to run that board?
Yeah, well, we need to be
We'll
on,
just leave the
that's for
camera on
sure.
you.
So we've got that kind of craziness, hysteria going. But just think, in March now of 2023, 3 years after the start of the craziness, we're still dealing with worldwide, and this is a worldwide story, because of that craziness that was there.
And I think it shocks other people. I talked to someone that lives in Russia this past weekend, and they're so confused about the United States. They believe the propaganda that every single person in the United States hates Russia, that we all hate Russian citizens, that we all love the country of Ukraine and Zelensky, and they think that we have freedom here, freedom of speech. They think we have freedom from mandates. They think we are the freest country in the world. And when I set them straight, they couldn't even believe it. I don't even think they did believe me.
They should probably talk to somebody just a little less than you.
Hey, now. We're sitting here talking about our lack of freedom.
This is
our lack of freedom.
Right,
we are not,
teasing.
I know you are. We are not the freest country in the world, like so many people think. We're not. People can, in China, they say, compare us to China. Some people say we are worse than China, but the propaganda you see on our media makes us think we are the freest country in the world, but we're not.
No, it was a story that we have emotion with it, but it really pissed me off that Novak Djokovic, the best player ever, not allowed to come into the United States to play tennis, as if he's some sort of threat. Oh my God, he didn't get cupcaked. Oh my God, it's going to be crazy. Because he's going to go stand by himself on a court all by himself. Outside.
Good point. I mean, that's tennis. It's not even like contact sport like football or basketball.
This is absolutely, and if you support this, you're as stupid as somebody who is telling Novak he can't.
For sure.
Freaking believable. Virtual signaling, all about politics. Get on with your life. Come on now. Come on. Get with the program. We know that you've got a personal vendetta. Unfreaking believable. All right. Chesterfield, Missouri Mayor Bob Nation coming live in studio at 9:30. He's going to be talking about a tax that's very interesting for every municipality, not only in the state of Missouri, but across the country, there's money out there. There is money for towns to make when it comes to taxes that the state has taken. It's very fascinating. So Bob's going to come in, join us at about 9:30 today. CPAC over the weekend didn't really make a lot of headlines. It didn't. Let's just be real. It didn't. Conservatives were there. The biggest, I guess, was Donald Trump. Donald Trump talked. He spoke a little bit. And what I found interesting, once again, another straw poll. There is absolutely no, I mean, every single polling now, it's getting bigger. Donald Trump, 62% by Republicans to be the nominee, to 20% for Ron DeSantis, who has not yet declared. And then a guy out of Michigan was in third place, a guy that was not allowed to run for governor in the state of Michigan, but only 2%.
Well, you know
no
why?
Nikki Haley.
Of course.
No Tim Scott.
No.
I like Tim Scott, though.
Yeah, we do.
I love Tim Scott.
All Donald Trump. He's on his mission. He's coming, and his speech was all about the American dream, America first, the same thing.
World War III.
Yeah, he brought that up.
I'm going to bet. Well, I think he should too.
He should bring it up because that's where we're heading. And people can say that's not happening, and that's a naive thought. Because it is happening. It could
happen in the decades to come.
Oh, no, it is going to happen.
It's not happening by 2025 when you say.
No, well, our own government says it is. Our own generals say it's going to happen before 2025.
Yeah, I know, but you have to look in between. There's a reason.
Then you're going to be wrong.
Well,
because it's going to happen within the next 2 years.
Okay, once again,
and hopefully we'll still be on the show.
But
so
once again, when you say
you'll have to buy me a cocktail.
There will not be troops on our soil, Tabitha.
We don't know that, Vic. That's yours.
Let's make a bet right now. You say there's going to be troops on our soil by 2025.
I think that anything is possible.
And it's possible I could win the lottery.
True,
okay, so to clarify this bet between the two of you, which troops? Like who exactly?
Yeah, China will not be on our soil in 2025. Tabitha, it's not happening.
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, it's for sure going to happen."
I pray to God it doesn't happen.
Thank God. But there's a lot of our military analysts who say it could happen. I posted a big article about it on my Facebook page the other day, who said, Americans don't be naive and think just because it's not happened in the past that we cannot have another nation invading us on our own soil. Think about Alaska and its proximity to Russia, 2.5 miles. I mean, I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen, but I'm saying
it's not going to happen.
I am saying that we cannot be so naive to think it will never happen here.
Well, they want to be the superpower.
You backed down, and I'm glad you
I didn't back down. I never said 100%.
You rephrased, and I'm glad you did.
No one can predict the future.
No, they can't. But here's why. They're not ready to do that, but they're trying to get there. China is. They have a mission to be the number one world power when it comes to military might and economic by 2049. That is their entire mission. That is what their country preaches, 2049, because it's the 100-year anniversary of their country's revolution. That is their mission. Like, we're coming after it, and they're coming with all their might. And that's why you hear American generals going, hey, but they're not in a great financial situation either.
They're not in a great financial situation.
But they're still spending on military.
China, in my opinion, and I'm not saying that they will never be here on our soil, because I absolutely think it's absolutely possible. But I will say also, they don't need to come here to wage a war against us. Because, I read a report yesterday.
And that's why I said troops.
I think it's possible troops could come here. And like Glenn said, they're already technically
because
here.
I just always have to back you down when you say, we're going to be in world, because people think it could be
I don't think most people
type of war.
When I talk about world war, and I think most people these days, when they hear the words world war, they don't think about troops being on our ground. That's not world war.
It all depends
That's not
on
what
the,
world war has to mean.
It depends on the group that you're talking to or with.
Maybe. I don't know anyone who's dumb enough to think that it always means troops on the ground.
Most Americans, when you tell them World War III, are thinking explosions blowing up, and they're not thinking about this cyber stuff. I do think
explosions. I think violence. I think combat. There's no question. If we have a World War III, those things are going to happen. I'm not saying
that's not happening by 2025 in America.
I don't know if I agree with you on that, Vic.
I know.
But we'll go and talk about that another day.
And in 2 years, you'll say, Vic, You were right.
And I hope you're right. I hope and pray to God you are absolutely.
We got a lot of things to worry
right.
about, but we don't have to worry about China troops being in our country in 2 years.
I don't know about that. But one thing that we do have to worry about is the drug shortage we have in this country because of China. Because now China is not exporting a lot of drugs to us like they used to. Albuterol being one of them. There's a huge albuterol shortage. Huge. And now we're starting to purchase our drugs from Mexico. And that's not getting us in a good position because now we're having problems with these drugs coming over from Mexico.
Yeah, but I'm told healthcare in Mexico is not so bad because
compared to here.
I've been told they get the doctors, they get trained in the United States and then go back to Mexico and learn how we don't do it the right way and are doing it the right way there. I know a couple who live or trying to be their nationals. And we like it in Mexico a whole lot better than in the United States.
Except for, did you know there was 4 Americans kidnapped?
Peter Judge just says, "Yep, that's true."
On
About
Friday,
Mexico?
Yeah.
On Friday,
yeah, and Browns,
yeah,
just outside of Brownsville,
which we know that's a rough area. You don't want to cross. Isn't that sad? Just on the other side of our border. But guess what? Who has Mexico been in a war with? Is Mexico taking any sides between Ukraine and the West? No. I mean, to me, they are one of the safest bets. When it comes to if we do end up in a war, where do you go? Go to Mexico.
We were talking about CPAC this weekend. It all kind of gets into President Trump or former President Trump talking about, possible world war, talking about getting back to America first, because we went from America first to what it seems like America last in one presidency. But what you saw out of Donald Trump this weekend, which are you saw a strong, whether you like this guy or not, whether you agree with his politics or not, you saw a strong leader. And it was night and day difference from watching poor Joe Biden stumble along and not be able to finish a full sentence and mumbling through. I mean, we're just calling out the facts. I'm not trying to pile on Biden. He's got issues.
What? Well, why not?
He's got serious issues. And with that being said, you see a man that is presidential, that is a leader, that will try to put the world back in order. But then it got me thinking, isn't it fair, Lizzie Scott Tabernacle, don't we think that there are powers that be that will not allow this to happen?
Yes, there's a shadow government for sure that we all are aware about.
The worst thing, again, for those people, those quote powers that be, is Donald Trump.
Absolutely, 100%.
Which scares me a little because if we see all the massive rallies again, all the Donald Trump support, nothing for Joe Biden 1, 2, or 3, or whoever's out on the campaign trail, we're going to start thinking about that. Okay, here we go again.
Oh, yeah. There's no question. We already need to have cameras in place at polling locations. And I keep telling people, go out and work the polls. Well, do you know, I registered myself here for, I think, the 3rd time in St. Charles County to work the polls. Well, guess what? Once again, I was not chosen. They started doing the training. Guess who they did not call? And that would be me. Guess who they did call?
Who?
Some very liberal people that I know are working the polls.
How do you know this?
Because they told me. That's how I knew training began.
Who told you?
My liberal friends are like, oh, yeah, we registered to work the polls here in St. Charles County.
And it didn't have anything to do about when you registered or having some sort of...
I don't know. I registered 3 elections in a row. They've never once chosen me.
They're never going to choose you.
And they're never going to choose me.
No, they're not.
Well, who's in charge of that?
I don't know.
Well, could it be Kurt Barr and his people?
Well, not him specifically.
Kurt has come onto the show several times.
Yeah, I don't know that means anything. But I don't think it's him picking and choosing who's working the polls, but obviously someone within that staff.
Well, it's interesting. No matter where you're listening to around the country for our show, if you're trying to work the polls and you're not being allowed, that could become a big story if, there is something nefarious being done, but you have to prove it.
How can you prove it? Yeah, you'd never be able to prove it.
That's why I asked, is there some sort of, it
you'd
goes
never
first come, first serve? I just wish that I knew how and what, because when you say that, it's like, what? Really?
Joe has a very good reason why. You're just too young. You're not a grandma and you don't have, gray hair. So that's why you can't. That's why. It has nothing to do with your conservative. It's because you're young. That's why.
But I have no idea how to even prove what is going on. But just think about that. Donald Trump running against whomever, and if there's massive support and then something changes,
they're going to do everything they can to keep him out. Why? Because they want to destroy our country. And
Who's
they
they?
know, they being the
I
puppet
always-
masters, they want to destroy our country. The folks that run this country, that's not Joe Biden, the people who tell him what to do and pull his strings, as well as old cammies. And they don't want Trump to win because they know that if he does, we are going to once again become a great country. And we, the majority, will once again be strong. And that is not what they want.
Well, we're going to be continuing to follow that. But the next story that goes right on the heels of that, what the heck's going on with Canada? Now, we have seen Canada in the last
They have lost their
8
freaking
years.
minds.
You know, the whole trucker convoy, and we saw freedoms being taken away from there. Before the trucker convoy, we saw priests and pastors being put in prison because they were calling out certain ways of life as being evil against God's word, whether you agree or not. And now we have situations with Canada, Tabitha, with an immigration standpoint.
Canada has literally lost their minds.
And there be possible national security risk. How so?
Think about this with Canada. When you think about Canada, they just legalized hard drugs in British Columbia, their largest province. It is now absolutely legal in Canada, in British Columbia, Canada, to have fentanyl, to have meth, to have cocaine, etc. And now they're trying to actually work out a deal with the United States to where we have the same laws as they do when it comes to drugs. Canada is lost. They're no longer the neutral country. They are completely lost. And they have so many problems right now with illegal border crossings. People are entering Canada illegally, and they are now coming across our border into the United States illegally.
Right. Both of our borders are not secure. People forget that some of the people that are coming in from the drug cartel and human trafficking are coming up through Canada. It's not just from the South anymore. So that's why you will see a lot of this crime and all this happening in not only the Midwest, but like northern Midwest. We're not secure either place.
We used to be, but we're not any longer.
Not anymore.
Well, they are progressive. They are woke. It started with Justin Trudeau. He has made that very, very clear. There are people in Canada fighting, just like there are in the United States.
Yes, there are. There's the majority of Canada are good patriots, good people doing the right thing. I know so many Canadians, such good people. They are conservative like we are, and they are fighting against their country with everything they have.
What do you mean they're good patriots?
They're good patriots like we are. The folks that I know here in the...
I had a liberal tell me that's your own sign of virtual signaling, as if we're not patriots.
No, they're not
because
patriots.
we differ in political ideas.
They would be correct. You can tell them that, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, the left is not.
They are not
patriotic.
Most of them, if trust me, and I'm not trying to be a jerk because I have a lot of friends who are liberals and Democrats, but if you voted for Joe Biden, then you voted for the destruction of this country. I think Scotty has something to add to that.
Have you ever tried to get into Canada?
It's very difficult.
I did when I lived in Detroit, but it was easy, and that was 8 years ago.
So I was on tour with a few bands after I played. I went out as a tour manager, and we had to do several trips to Canada. And on multiple occasions, we had to pay extra money due to traffic violations.
Oh wow!
One of the band members had a DUI. It cost us over $6,000 to get him to cross the border, and multiple hours at their border checkpoints.
How long ago was this?
2009, 10. So you would never see that coming into the United States.
No,
that's changed.
How?
It's easier.
It's easier to even
to
get into Canada now?
No.
Or
to get into the U.S.
Yeah, into the U.S.
Oh, I figured. Yeah.
Which is why we talk about it being the risk.
That's
easy
crazy.
to get, difficult to get into Canada and other countries. Just like Mexico, you can't just enter Mexico. You can't just walk from the United States into Mexico, without a passport or without going through a legal port of entry. But United States, our borders are wide open. Everyone's welcome unless you're from Cuba or Haiti or another country that
Haiti.
opposes from Haiti, Missouri.
It's Haiti.
I always drive by that because it's
Haiti.
spelled Hayti, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I always thought it was Haiti, but it is Haiti there in
Haiti.
Missouri.
It is there in Missouri.
Stop, Tabitha. Just stop. You're gonna get.
I didn't say Haiti. That Scott was just teasing
I was
me.
just trying.
Oh my God! I could already say it.
Haitians.
Yeah, the Haitians.
But keep it. But your whole point was this: is keep an eye on Canada, right? This is the whole
Keep an
situation.
eye on Canada. Canada is having, some serious issues over there, and I don't know what is going on with them. And I feel so bad for the good people of Canada. I really do. Their country is falling apart under the ruling of the regime of Trudeau. He is destroying Canada from within, just like Democrats are destroying our country from within. And it is a national security risk. Absolutely.
When it comes to some of the things that's going on in this country as we continue to get broken up, it's very fascinating to, I don't think it's going to happen. I saw the story last week. Tabitha brought it up. Parts of Oregon want to become.
Oh yeah. They want to secede.
They want to.
Can you blame them?
And become Idaho. What would you become if you were lived in
Idahoan?
And I wanted you to say that.
Isn't that a potato?
Idahoan. And
I hate Eric's not here to hear this discussion because Eric's answer is always to secede. And I would say that's never going to happen. They're not going to secede, but it actually may happen because both
we
Oregon.
We got to have a civil war. We got to have a civil war before that happens.
I don't know. Both Oregon and Idaho seem to be okay with it.
I know it's fun to talk about, but it's a massive undertaking.
Of course it would be.
And it doesn't make sense financially. And if anything doesn't make sense financially, politically, they just don't happen. But
I think it's a long shot.
But did you see what's happening in California? They're legitimately still pushing the $360,000 a person for reparations. They're pushing this.
That is crazy.
It is being pushed hard in the state. Yet California, if you do your history research, they never even had slavery in the state.
No, they did not.
there was never slavery, even if reparations was proven to be good at that way, way high level, which we know it isn't. Even if it was proven, they never even had slaves there. No slavery. We're getting $360,000. That's being pushed. It is being pushed right now with some of these leaders. It's fascinating to think that that's still happening.
If we're going to talk about secession, perhaps we just break California away. How about that? I love California. It's a beautiful state, but I'll tell you what, let's just let them go.
It's not happening. It stinks because it is such a beautiful state. And then it was infiltrated.
Did you say $360,000?
$360,000.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, and where are you going to get the money? And how are you going to decide? Because there's not enough money to pay everybody that would quote want to do or that would be eligible. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Some of the things that are actually happening, what people are trying to get done. We're going to push this through and push that through. And we're going to get all this money for everybody that's coming through.
And Tabitha, going back to how pretty the state is, my daughter-in-law would agree with you. As she was saying that they were going to come back here, she said she hopes that the state of California just does have an earthquake and breaks off and dies.
Oh,
that's how harsh she was after living there.
I don't want anyone there to die, but
I don't either. Well, she didn't want people to die, but she wanted the whole she called California a country. She wants it to go away.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The good part about California, there is an area in Orange County where they are diehard patriots, true patriots, not
north of San Diego
Biden
too, where my family
voters.
lives.
Exactly. There are some really good people in California doing the right thing. There's pockets of them. I actually reached out to a few of the groups last night because I'm like, hey, we have this new Patriot podcast. You guys need to tune in. And so those folks, they hate it as much as we do. It's a shame what's happening to California. It really is.
So we'll keep you posted when it comes to the quote $360,000. Oh yes, this is so wonderful for reparations. There was another Southern. What's the railroad track? There was another
Norfolk Southern.
Norfolk Southern had another train derailment over the weekend. Fortunately, there was nothing hazardous inside. But yet it was another massive undertaking. That was a big story from the weekend. You also have Chris Rock coming out against cancel culture, against wokeism. He is now 1 year after the whole incident with Will Smith coming out again, and he is lambasting Will Smith for his wife pretty much embarrassing him. I'm trying to be as kind as I possibly can. Pretty much emasculating him on national TV and interviews.
And it's not the first time we've heard this.
But this is the first time that Chris Rock has come out publicly. He had a comedy show over the weekend, massively popular. And he took it a step further, saying, you're not going to see me on the shows with the Gales and the Oprahs and the mainstream TV shows anymore because I'm calling it out. He 100% called out cancel culture, 100% called out wokeism.
Good.
He called out Hollywood. I'm like, okay, we're not going to hear from Chris Rock again.
He will probably be Arkansided.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
He's going to be Arkansided. But I am so glad that Chris Rock did this. He's had to sit back. He has sat back, and because at first there was is he in on it with Will Smith? It was an act. Look at the slap. He is part of it. If he would have been part of it, he would not be lambasting Will Smith.
I agree, but it was so confusing when you watched it because it was so surreal to think that this could actually, we're so used to PR stunts. And even I looked at it and thought, is it real? Is it not real? Is it part of the show? Is it an act? Did they plan this behind the scenes? But you're right. I believe it was absolutely original.
There's still people think that it was fake though, too.
I know.
I don't think it was fake.
I don't think it was a fake. If Chris Rock is calling this out now and then he's going to be ostracized, then that proves that it wasn't an act. But I agree with many people that think it is an act because it looked like it was. It was crazy.
It was.
And 2 weeks ago, we didn't get a chance to show the video at the time because we got so busy on the show. There's always so much to talk about. Woody Harrelson calling out Big Pharma on Saturday Night Live. We won't hear from Woody again, but that's all right.
Tim Robbins also.
He's got a new movie coming out. But we do see more people calling out Hollywood, and not looking for anything for you to say with that, Tabitha. We understand your situation. But some of these things are becoming national stories now, when for the first time you have Hollywood people who've been elites going, wait a second, we're not jumping in on this. We're not going to get involved. We're not going to let this just go by and keep our mouths shut, which is great to see because you need more of this. You need more people calling out the cancel culture and the wokeism and some of the things that have ruined America and continue to ruin America. Okay, then we'll leave it there.
Okay, then.
So if you haven't seen it, check out Chris Rock just crushing Will Smith, because the act is it's sad that Will had to go through that because Jada Pinkett Smith wears the pants in that family and pretty much embarrassed him on several orders. And as Chris Rock said, yeah, you'd be upset too if your wife had you on national TV asking you how you feel about me cheating with our son's friend. I was like, oh my God, that's cool.
She's such trash.
Oh,
she really is.
Russell Brand, I just looked at the line. Another one. Russell is really, really gone all out against that. And of course, Bill Maher on a weekly basis calling out Democrat. I mean, because of their quote cupcake stance and because of the quote mixed messages coming out of Hollywood.
Did you see that also on the comment line? We have an Oregon. Are they called Oregonians? Is that where you're from? If you're from
Oregonians, yes.
Oregonian.
I just don't know if it's Idahoans.
I believe it is
Idahoans.
And they commented on the comment line that the reason why they're wanting to join Idaho is because they don't have voting power over Portland. And I kind of thought, well, welcome to Illinois.
Welcome to Missouri.
and
Are
Missouri
you kidding
well,
me? It's the same situation.
In many states are, because you have these very liberal cities. And if you're anywhere in the state, you are paying all of your tax dollars are going to those municipalities, and you have zero control over what happens there.
And you
it's
can't
so
even go to
unfortunate.
Walmart there anymore.
Where's that?
What were you talking about?
You can't go to Walmart there anymore
In Portland?
Either. Right.
Why?
Oh, that's right. They closed all the
closed
Walmarts,
all the
or they are
Walmarts.
closing them.
Yeah, I think they officially got closed this weekend or the next weekend coming up. And it's due to crime. And well, they're not calling it crime. They're saying it's lack of financial credibility.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
By the way, this is cancelthisshow.com. We talk about people listening. It is a national show. We're based out of the St. Louis area. Of course, we're 8 to 10 Central, Monday through Fridays live. Yes, we do stream as soon as the show ends. It's saved right there. All of our original content going back 3 months now. We also put that right to audio. So your typical audio podcast, take it on the go with you as well. You can go to our website, cancelthisshow.com. Click on your favorite viewing platform, which we have there, and or your favorite listening platform. Once again, Scotty Gherkin on the boards, Lizzie Sparks on social media, Tabitha Hassel, I'm Vic Faust, Eric Johnson taking care of some personal issues today. He'll be in when he possibly can.
Personal issues, yes.
Yeah, of course. And then, of course, Brenda says she can't stop at Shooks now without looking over her shoulder because we've had a couple incidents at local grocery stores in the St. Louis area as well.
Well,
Oh,
you know what I
yes.
did with what Brenda is talking about? I thought it was the single 52-year-old lady in the dark. Turns out her husband was putting the groceries in the trunk. So she wasn't by herself. So that is a very brazen criminal or criminals.
Folks, arm yourselves.
For sure.
Go take a course, learn some safety, and protect yourself.
That's right, Scotty.
I'm telling you right now, if it's there, it's everywhere.
It is everywhere. And so, the same thing happened at another grocery store in the area, not in St. Charles County, but in West County on the same night in the same type of vehicle. They think it was the same people.
But okay, it was probably, and where are they from?
They were from they had Texas license plates, but that does not mean they were from Texas.
Okay.
It could mean a lot of
It
different
was
things.
probably a rent-a-car.
But here's the
It could
problem.
have been.
Crime can be from all over the place, but in the region where we are now, guess where most of the crime originates and it comes from when you do the background checks on where the people are from.
North City.
No, it's St. Louis.
Yeah.
It's St. Louis City. It is city. So you can say crime is everywhere. And there are people who will say that. Yeah, crime can spread. Crime can be everywhere. But most of it, at least in the St. Louis metropolitan area, it originates in the same place. And that's St. Louis City. Because if you take care of criminals when you have a chance from the onset, you eliminate it. You send a deterrent. And I don't want to hear, we got too many people here. Yeah, well, reimagining crime isn't working.
Well, Aaron says on the chat line, why don't we build a wall at the river on both
Okay,
70 and 40? Wouldn't you love that? And make it a toll booth. Make it a really expensive toll booth unless you live in St. Charles County. But if you have to come over, then you have to pay $1 million
into St. Charles County.
Yes.
There's the only answer is exactly what Scotty said, and that is to arm yourselves. Make sure you know how to use a weapon, because anyone who uses weapons should know if you're going to have one with you, you need to know how to use it, and you need to be prepared to use it or don't have one at all. But we are our own police. We are our own self-defense, because when the criminal approaches you behind your vehicle at the grocery store, the police aren't there. Only you are. And you have to be able to defend yourself.
Do we think things are getting worse at grocery stores? Are they getting worse?
It's random. I mean, this stuff happens all the time somewhere. It just happened to be that a woman she was shot. It wasn't a situation where she was robbed. There was a woman, I believe it was Mary said at a Deerbergs, which is what I read, where an 81-year-old woman got her purse stolen. They think it was the same people, or potentially the same people. However, this lady that was shot, and that was the Schnooks off of is it Youngerman? I never know how to say it.
It's both.
Wherever she was, over there at that Schnooks, I shop there sometimes. But you know what? These things happen everywhere. It doesn't matter what grocery store you're at. You could be here in Chesterfield Valley at a grocery store. You have to be prepared to protect yourself no matter where you're at.
Once again, cancelthisshow.com. Continue to like and subscribe. Tabitha, Lizzie say share the stars. Let us know what's coming with that. We appreciate it when you do that. We still have Chesterfield Mayor Bob Nation coming up at 9:30. Very interesting on how your own municipality, your own towns can generate a lot more money on a tax that you're not getting in most cases, but the state is. It was fascinating. It may sound kind of, it's not this, it's not that, it's not that great, but so much money can be made. Another interesting thing that I saw, friends of our show, the McCloskeys were talking on the front page of Fox News. because in the midst of Kim Gardner going through her situation in St. Louis, and by the way, over the weekend, more and more local news channels doing stories and people coming forward, police officers who were on her list. What was the official list called again?
The exclusion list.
The exclusion list.
Last time I checked, over 95 officers were on Kim Gardner's exclusion list. And if you don't know what that means somehow you got on the bad side of Kim Gardner. You have not been reprimanded by the St. Louis City Police Department. You've done nothing wrong as far as your job is concerned, but she has decided she will not try your cases. So you can work and you're going to get paid to work, but if you arrest someone, guess what? They're set free.
Well, that's also going to be brought up in her case as well. And it'll be interesting, see, because now the McCloskey is coming full center. I mean, they're on this show. They've come on the show twice, and it hasn't been that long since Mark joined us on our own show to talk about some of the things that are going on. Now, talking nationally about, Kim Gardner was more worried about trying to do things to them than their own violence and taking care of a Daniel Riley at the same time.
Yes.
It's really piling up for her right now. And I credit, whether you agree or disagree with what the McCloskeys are doing, they have every right to go and reestablish their own reputation because, hey, they did what they did. And guess what? St. Louis City, and you had individuals trying to go after them and ruin them, ruin their reputation, ruin their business because they didn't like them and they didn't like what they stood for. And now they're getting a chance to kind of come back and speak some truth about where they are, whether people like what they're saying or not. So you'll see the McCloskeys that doing their interviews, talking about what happened. But, very interesting to see that Fox News was giving them some publicity.
It's great. People like Mark McCloskey, Eric Greitens, and the list goes on, whether you agree with either one of them. Hopefully they get some vindication when everything Kim Gardner's been doing, it comes out.
I hope so too. But the downside of that, and trust me, I am pushing with everything I have that she is removed from this job. The downside of that is look at all the cases in the city of St. Louis that they're going to have to go back and look at because of her involvement. There's going to be a lot of people potentially set free because of her misconduct. That's a problem.
It is going to happen.
It's a problem.
It's going to happen, and that's something to think about. Hey, guys, but want to give you some more happy news. Scotty, I sent you his picture as well. You can pop that up. On Friday, we had a situation where we had, there was a kid who was not allowed to wrestle. Remember this story, guys, from last week? His dad joined us. Missouri Senator Ben Brown got involved. Well, here's what happened. Missouri USA Wrestling refused to let this kid wrestle. They would not budge because they said, well, their final excuse was, well, the brackets have been out now. It's too late to change. And I knew this was going to happen for this poor kid. Do I think it's a massive, massive story? No. But for that kid, yes. His parents, yes. After all the work that he did, 100%, when it wouldn't have affected any other kids. And this kid was expected to maybe win. So I have to think something on the down low was going on. I do. Well, here's your state senator working extra and overtime outside of his hours, came up with an idea to present young Colton with a proclamation for what he had to deal with at a later date and a rule change within the wrestling organization. The guy who was in charge of Missouri Wrestling he was talking about, I think the name is Ream or Reams, said he's going to do it. It hasn't been done yet, but said they'll do it at their next board meeting in a few months. They're going to go to he's going to have him. This is Ben Brown's going to have Ream, the director, Colton and his dad at the Capitol and present him with a tangible proclamation so that he gets to go and say, hey, you know what? A rule was changed. Now, did it help the fact that he didn't get to wrestle in states? No. Should he have been wrestling? 100%. Yes. But he did get to wrestle a different tournament, an AAU tournament. Here's Colton.
They won't open, Vic. I sent you a thing. The file's corrupted, it says.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, yeah, that was a picture they sent us. Sorry about that.
If you can try to resend it, maybe it'll come
sure.
through. I'm not
sure.
I
can certainly try to do that.
It's got a goofy tag on it, so it just won't open.
But the thing that is that he won. Well, here's what happened. He won his AAU tournament. So the tournament he got to compete in, he won.
Good.
Very, very happy for young Colton. He's smiling. He's not crying, and he's going to get to go to the state capitol and get recognized by
Good
the
for him.
legislators.
Very glad to
And
hear
That's
this.
awesome.
Such a failure on the part of the
It-
wrestling.
Oh, it sure is.
it should have been changed. I mean, come on. It's difficult to change a bracket, but once again, they continued to blame. They blamed, sorry, if you have a guy that accidentally, they even agreed that more money should have been paid under their own rules. But he's like, but this guy said that the wrestling director, Reams said that he had death threats, that he was
Oh,
undergoing, that he
stop.
was undergoing like the biggest stress ever because it became a Midwest story for wrestling, which is just crazy.
I don't agree with death threats, but it should have been a big story because guess what? This is children's sports. You can change the rules. It's not the US Constitution. It's not set in stone. You can change the rules.
Yes.
Tabitha, you're right. This is another example of adults hurting children
Yes.
and being
It's
bad examples
overreach.
for what's right.
Right.
Adults need
Abe
to,
says no, it's a failure on the adults, and then Peter says anything's possible if you really want to change it or get it done.
Yeah, and it is a
I
failure.
agree
on
with
adults.
both.
I agree with
there
both.
was
also.
there was one failure, but there also needs to be things set in place. So the rule is going to make sure that wrestling's going to have to admit, yeah, we had it wrong. We're trying to get better, and we're going to help this kid out. So that's kind of where they are from that standpoint right now. Coming up at 9:30. Chesterfield Mayor Bob Nation in studio to talk about a tax that can help your municipality, no matter where you live in the country, that it's money that you're already being taxed and it's going to the state. Well, guess what? It could go to your local municipality if you put it on a ballot and vote for it. Blew my mind. So he's going to come in and talk about that. We're going to get into